I just finished it and I'm already planning my second. So if that's not high praise for a pattern, I don't know what is. Hello, my name is Bonnie and this is my channel, A Knitter Obsessed. This is my knitting podcast where I talk about all things knitting currently going on in my life. And I have just a regular podcast update for you guys today. So I've got one finished object, 4 whips, and some acquisitions to go through. So it's going to be a bit of a busy episode. And I also have plans to start a knit along, I think later this week. On the 13th of September, this Friday. And so if that's something you might be interested in, be sure to stick around and I'll have some more details on that a little later on. I do want to get straight into it because we have so much to talk about and I don't want to let this video go on too long. So I will be jumping right into my finished object. So I am wearing it. This is the Basic Boatneck Tank by Maddie of True Summer Knits. I did this as a test knit for her. The pattern isn't quite released yet, but I absolutely adored this project. I love the finished object. I loved the process of knitting it. The pattern itself was incredibly well written. I can't recommend it enough. When the pattern is released, if this is something that you would be interested in knitting, it will be released on the 22nd of this month. It is going to be a free pattern available on Ravelry, and Maddie is planning to have a full video tutorial for how to knit this pattern up on her channel, which is such an incredible deal. Like, I can't even tell you. This is her very first pattern as far as I know. So she's a new designer, but she absolutely knocked it out of the park on this. I love the fit. I will be putting up some B-roll of me walking around in this so you can see how it truly fits me. But it's just like the title says, it's just a basic boat neck tank. If you guys see my bra strap kind of peeking out, I don't quite have the best bra undergarment situation for hiding it with this top, but that's on me. It's not the pattern. It has wide enough straps that you should be able to hide an undergarment no problem. I just need to get something that puts the straps in, the perfect place for me, but it doesn't bother me too much. I think it still looks fantastic. But it's just a basic boat neck tank, and that's it. There's no real frills to it. It's got some negative ease. It's nice and fitted. It has some waist shaping on the sides to make sure that it's still fitted down into the waist. I ended up doing one repeat of the waist shaping more than the pattern called for, just because I wanted a slightly more fitted feel for me. But that's incredibly easy to adjust because it is knitted top down, so you're able to try it on as you go and make sure that it's fitting the way you want. I knit the size medium, which I believe is the 3rd size, and it gave me just a little bit of negative ease, but nothing too crazy. It doesn't feel overly snug or anything like that. It is knit at a fairly tight gauge, so I believe it's a 28 stitch gauge, but I think that is the reason that the fit on this is so good. Like, it's just a nice, dense, even, lovely fabric. I love the fabric on this so much. It just looks impeccable. I knit this with the Knitting for Olive Merino in the color Dusty Sea Green, which was leftover yarn that I had in my stash. And I knit it just a little longer than the pattern called for because I kind of wanted to use up all of the yarn in my stash. And so I just weighed this before starting the podcast, and it came in around 118 grams of yarn. So just, 2 and a bit balls of the Knitting for Olive Merino. I'll do the math and figure out what the yardage is on that, and I'll pop it up on the screen for you. But I did a good job because this is all of the yarn that I have left. So I successfully used all of my yarn. So we're good, got that out of stash. But that being said, I love this top and this yarn. I believe in Madison's first sample, she knit it using the cotton merino, and I think that would look really stunning in this as well. But like I said, I had the merino in my stash already, so that was why I chose to do that. But I also do just feel like the merino gives it a lot of elasticity, a lot of memory, and it just, the fit is just impeccable. Like, I just love this so much. It has I-cord detailing on the neckline and on the armholes, or I-cord finishing, not detailing, you know what I mean? And in order to keep it from rolling, she has this really cool technique where instead of just picking up the edge stitches, you actually fold the fabric over a little and you pick up through the double fold of the fabric to give the I-cord a little bit of stability. And it was definitely fiddly, but it worked like an absolute charm. Like it doesn't want to roll at all. I did have to pin it when I blocked it, and I used quite a lot of pins. But once it blocked, it just stays, and it just lays nice and flat. And the boat neck doesn't want to bunch. It doesn't want to do anything weird. It just sits along my collarbone, and it's so easy and nice and just classic looking. Like seriously, I know I keep like kind of raving about the fit on this, but the fit really is just so good. And then on the hem, it actually has a folded hem. So my folded hem is a couple of rows shorter than the pattern called for, but that's because in my attempt to want to use all of my yarn, I ended up playing a teensy bit of yarn chicken at the end. And so I knew I wasn't gonna have quite enough yarn for how deep of a folded hem she called for, but it is close. I only cut out like one or, a couple of rows, I'm pretty sure. So it's totally fine. And I love the look of the folded hem. I think it looks just so clean and nice. Like, oh, it's so good. I will say knitting the folded hem is the first one I've ever done, and it's a little bit of a pain in the butt. That is a fiddly process. I actually ended up having to do it twice because the first time I did it, I sort of messed up my needle sizing. My fault. I just wasn't paying attention when I was knitting the folded hem, and like went up a needle size and one where I don't know what I was thinking. I did something super weird. And then when I bound off, a lot of the testers had been having problems with having too tight of a bind off on the folded hem. So when I went to do the bind off, what you're doing is you're knitting your live stitches with a stitch from a row up and then binding off at the same time. So you're doing the fold and the bind off at the same time. And what I did is I went up a needle size for that, and I did a yarn over before knitting those two stitches together, and then passed the yarn over the stitches along with the stitch before in the bind off. So it's basically like a Jenny's Surprisingly Stitchy bind off, but while also doing the folded hem. Hopefully that makes sense. It's like kind of hard to explain these things with words sometimes. But yeah, the first time I did it, I went up the needle size and did the Surprisingly Stretchy, and like I said, I had some like tensiony problems that were my own fault as well, and the hem just sort of flared out a little bit, and it just wasn't sitting right when I was trying to wear the top. And I had to redo one of the I-cords anyways because I had picked up the wrong number of stitches, which I had already known. I did the I-cords earlier in the project, knew that I had to redo one of them, but just felt like I'd rather finish the body and finish the project before I went back and did the I-cord at the end. So I redid the I-cord, redid the hem. Redoing the hem the second time was extra brutal because I was working with yarn that had already been knitted, already been blocked, then been frogged. So the tension was all over the map. It was really hard to read my stitches. The first few times I tried to do the fold was like going on a journey and just like growing away from me. Like I could not pick up in a straight line when I was doing the bind off. I finally redid it again, used so many stitch markers to mark the stitches I needed to pick up, and slowly but surely got the folded hem bound off and good to go. I love the effect, and a lot of the problems I had with it were my own fault, and so, this is nothing to do with the pattern. It was just an interesting journey at the very end of this project. But blocking got rid of all of those tension issues. It came out beautifully, and now that I've redone it, it sits perfectly when I'm wearing it, and I'm very happy I put in the extra time to make it correct. On top of that, fixing the I-cord hem, the armholes are not too deep. I don't think I'm gonna have any problem with them stretching out or showing, my bra. The neckline I-cord, I did pick up every single stitch, which is what she called for in the pattern. As of now, I think she might be changing that pickup rate. So if that's different than what you see if you knit this, I did pick up every stitch on the neckline, and that worked out perfectly for me. And then on the armholes, I did every 4 out of 5 stitches, and that worked out perfectly for me. But I do feel like pickup rates for these things, well, patterns give you a starting place. It can sometimes be a little bit of a personal decision based on your own tension and your own fit that you're looking for and stuff like that. So for me, those were the rates that worked out perfectly for me. And yeah, when I redid the hem, by the way, I didn't go up a needle size. So I did the bind off in the same needle size that I knit the rest of the garment in, but I still did the Jenny surprisingly stretchy bind off, and that combo worked. It kept it from getting too flared out. So that was what I did to fix my hem problem. So a couple more stats about the pattern. I knit this using a US 2.5 needle, which is a 3mm needle. The pattern has you knit it in a US 2, which is a 2.75mm needle. I just wasn't quite getting engaged with that, so I went with the 3mm. And then for the I cords and part of the hem, you do go down a needle size, and so that I used the US 2 for those. I believe the pattern calls for US 1.5 for those. So just if you're following the pattern, you're going to need a US 1.5 and a US 2 needle. But, like with anything else, you use the needles that you get gauge with. There are options in the pattern to omit the waist shaping. So if you just wanted this to be a looser, more casual fit, that's also an option. For me, I love the fitted look. I think it looks really flattering and really nice, and it's incredibly comfortable. I have plans to knit another one of these already. I really, really want to have one in black. And I laugh at myself a little for that, because I just talked about how irritating the folded hem was and seeing which stitches to pick up and all of that. And knitting it in black is just going to make that so much harder. But I just feel like that would be such, oh my gosh, it would be such a well-worn top for me. Like, I would wear it all the time. So, and it's not expensive. I mean, if you think about, I did 3 balls of knitting for olive merino, not even, 2 and a little bit. And I made it a little longer. So if I made it more cropped like the pattern calls for, I think I could do this in 2 balls. And knitting for olive merino is, I think like $12 a ball or something. I'm pulling that out of my head. It could be more, it could be less. I'm not positive. But it's nothing too crazy. So like I could knit another one of these for, I believe, under $30. And I think I'd wear it all the time. I think it would be such a well-worn piece for me, particularly in the fall and like transitional months. Like I really think I'm going to do it. So that being said, I just finished it and I'm already planning my second. So if that's not high praise for a pattern, I don't know what is. Anyways, I think that's all I have to say about this. So like I said, this will be out September 22nd. I highly, highly recommend it. It knit up so much faster than I thought it would for how, small of a gauge it was. And it was so easy to knit. Like I could just sit there and just knit away and knit away and knit away. And I was actually knitting on this while doing schoolwork, because I'm in school for my master's right now. And I almost knit it too long, because I just was not even paying attention. It was just knitting itself almost. And I looked down and I was like, oh, I gotta start the hem. I'm like gonna run out of yarn. Like, we're done. You finished it. You're good. So yeah, super enjoyable. Maddie did an amazing job. Highly recommend. And I mean, I can't wait for this pattern to come out and for everyone to be able to knit it. It's fantastic. With that, let's move on to some whips. My first whip it's a big one. It is my sweater number 14 V-neck by My Favorite Things Knitwear. Let's see if I can get it in the camera. It's a little big. I have both sleeves now done, and it is just ready for the ribbing. The body's done as well. It just needs the ribbing. The reason it's still a whip and not a finished object at this point is because I ran out of yarn. So I have another ball of yarn on the way. It should be here tomorrow, I think. And with that, I will finish this off. Because I was waiting for the yarn, I thought it would be fun to do a mid-project block on this. So this is totally blocked, which is why it's nice and drapey. Because I wanted to see how much everything would grow. Because when I was knitting it up, the yarn was coming out really stiff and the sweater had no drape. It was just very stiff. And I knew from my swatch that it was going to loosen up quite a bit when I blocked it, but I didn't get my swatch to grow a whole ton. So I was like, well, it was a smaller swatch though, so I was a little worried that that wasn't going to be true with the bigger fabric, that, it was going to loosen up and relax. And I had a feeling it was just going to grow a lot. So before I blocked it, my sleeves were like here, like just barely to the bottom of my hand, and I was thinking it would grow like an inch or so and get sort of to the middle of my hand. And I'm gonna try this on for you. But it grew a lot. They are, if I put my arms down, my entire hand is covered. These are big sleeves. Like, this is yeah, I'm on the fence about whether I'm going to rip back some of the length or not, because I do think that, one, this is just cozy and comfy. But also I do think it looks quite cute with folded cuffs. And so I think it might be nice to keep it long, and then I could have the choice between, you know, long cozy cuffs or just, you know, maybe slightly more practical folded cuffs if I'm out and about. Oh my gosh, this is warm. So that's sort of what I'm thinking. My plan is to get the ribbing on it and see how the whole thing looks, and then go from there and, you know, make that decision. I love the way it's looking. I think this is so cute. I think the color is really nice. I think the fit is, you know, obviously massive and oversized, but that was the idea. And now that it's blocked, it's so soft and cozy and drapey, and it feels really, really nice. I'm going to take it off because I'm already sweating. It's like in the 90s today, and so wearing a merino tank top and then putting a very heavy wool and alpaca sweater over the top of it is not what the weather's calling for today. But this is knit. I'm knitting the size 1 in this. This is the smallest size available, and I'm knitting it with the Veronika in the colorway 10. And Veronika is a wool, alpaca, and silk blend, so that's where it has all of the drape and the warmth, and it's actually got just the tiniest bit of halo, I'm pretty sure, from the alpaca. It's yarn that I picked up in Japan earlier this year, and so I picked up 3 balls in Japan because that's what would fit in my suitcase, honestly. And yeah, I knew from the jump on this one that I was probably going to need more yarn, so I'm not super surprised that I ran out. And yeah, I'm just, like I said, just waiting for the final ball to come in, and I'll get this one finished right away. It does have about 5 inches of ribbing, and it's got a split hem where the back is a little longer than the front. And so the ribbing might take me a little bit of time, but yeah, very excited for it. It's almost ready. I'm not gonna be able to wear this for a couple of months probably, but that's okay. It was really fun to knit. I'd been knitting so many smaller gauge projects that I really needed something that was going to have like clear and visible progress as I knit it. Like, I just needed a chunkier knit. I needed a bit of a palette cleanser, and this one's been perfect for that, and I've been having a lot of fun watching the colors stripe up and seeing what the different balls of yarn do. I am actually knitting this, another reason I cast it on when I did is I'm sort of knitting this for Sarah from Denim and Rain is having a KAL right now for, it's the sweaters in summer KAL. And so the idea being that we spend summer, we take a little bit of time to get some of our projects ready so that we're able to wear them in the winter when we want them, as opposed to, you know, knitting in the season, like knitting summer knits in the summer, not getting to wear them, and then knitting winter knits in the winter, not having time to wear them in that season. And so being, you know, a season ahead, getting some sweaters done in the summer so that you can enjoy them when the weather changes and you don't have to wait a whole year. I think I got a piece of alpaca fuzz in my mouth. Ugh. And so yeah, I wanted to get that done. That is going until the 22nd of this month, and I think I'm gonna have no problem getting it done by then, because I think I'll have this done definitely by the end of this week, because I'm really excited for it and I want to get it done and finished and see what the finished object looks like. A note on the really long sleeves, I knit those shorter than the pattern called for. The pattern called for, I want to say, like another 2 inches of length from what I knit, and that just felt crazy to me when I was knitting it, and so I stopped short, and I'm very glad I did, because like obviously they don't need to be 2 inches longer. So just if you choose to knit this pattern, be careful with some of the lengths called out, because while it is going for an oversized fit, I do think the pattern is written for a very, very oversized fit. And so, you know, just use some caution, try it on as you go. Make sure you're happy with the lengths and don't just sort of blindly follow the lengths of things given in the pattern, because I think it would get a little out of hand. So, but overall, I'm really, really excited about that pattern. I think my favorite part is the folded over collar. Like, oh, it's so good. That is the sweater number 14 V-neck by My Favorite Things Knitwear. Hopefully I'll have more to say about it next week when I have, or not next week, but next podcast episode when I hope to have a finished object for you guys. Okay, so moving on. This next one does not have a pattern. So this is one that I am actually just sort of making up myself as I go. Let me get the yarn untangled here. Oh my goodness, it's really tangled. But this is a baby blanket that I am knitting for my niece, who will be born in a couple of months. So this is, I'm calling it Luna's baby blanket because the baby's name is Luna. And this is, like I said, a self-drafted pattern. I'm knitting this in Drops Paris, which is 100% cotton yarn in the color, I want to say, it's either Buttercup or Daffodil. I can't remember which flower it is. I want to say Daffodil. I will find out and let you guys know. I'm knitting it on a US 8 needle, and I'm just doing different stripes of texture. So I've got the garter border all the way around, but I knew that I wanted to have some different stripes of texture in here because sometimes the garter border can sort of bend because of the way if you just have stockinette and garter, sometimes the edge can want to sort of flip over. And I knew I didn't want that. So I've got some garter stripes in here, and then I've got this little like zigzag pearl bump motif, which I just thought was really cute. And yeah, I'm planning to just kind of go until I run out of yarn. For my calculations, that should be about 6 of these little texture stripes. And then I should have enough to do a final, stockinette stripe and then the edge, assuming I continue to have about a similar yardage use throughout. It feels really nice. This cotton's really soft. It's an Aran weight cotton. I think it's a 10 ply yarn. It's a little bit splitty. Cotton tends to be a little bit splitty, and then that many plies, I do occasionally catch it, but it's nothing terrible. I've worked with splittier yarns. It's not that bad. And the stitch definition is just so good. Like, it looks so nice and neat and even, and I'm really, really happy with it. I did order some light yellow yarn as well. So my plan for that is to do a little like simple, very, very simple, because I don't crochet, but a very simple little crocheted border along the edge with it, and then possibly do some little embellishments in the body of the blanket, but I'm gonna have to play around with that and kind of see. Like, I'm thinking of doing some like embroidery or like duplicate stitch type of stuff just to add some little small fun cute details, make it personalize it a little bit. But yeah, I'm having a lot of fun on this. It's knitting up incredibly fast. I started this less than a week ago. So technically I started it when I was filming my last episode, which was a week ago today, but I really like my blankets to have a nice clean edge, little selvage, working with the selvage stitches and slipping them and making a nice clean edge. And I just forgot to do that. And so I got the garter border at the bottom knit and then realized that, and I was unhappy with it. So I ripped it all out that day. And then I picked it up again a couple days later and started it and knit a good chunk of it and decided I didn't like the pattern I was doing on that one. I was doing something with seed stitch and it just wasn't looking clear. It was looking kind of muddy. So ripped that out again, not all the way. That time I, kept a good chunk of what I'd worked on. But I got my pattern really figured out a couple of days ago, I think Friday. And since then I've just been flying on it. So, less than a week of work and I'm 4.5 balls out of 10 through. So almost halfway there. So yeah, hopefully I'll have this done in a couple of weeks and have it ready for my niece before she gets here. The cotton yarn and the bigger needles it's on do tend to make my hands hurt a little bit, and so I do find that I have to take breaks while working on this, and so I'll usually work on it and like watch an episode of TV or something and then just have to put it down and walk away. And honestly, I just sort of have to stop knitting for a little while. It's like actually making my hands tired. And so I just have to give them breaks and walk away. But even with that, it's going very, very fast. So excited about that project. I think it's gonna look really nice. And, you know, I'm hoping that she loves it. So, all right, my next whip is my Tonight Top by Lily Kate France. So I've been working away on this one. I believe last time I showed it to you, I just had the back panel done. So with that, I've now done the entire front panel, joined in the round, and knit probably 5 inches of the body. So, you know, good bit of progress. It has this really cute detail on the side with these little alternating little like garter stitch chunks to make this sort of like faux seam down both sides. And I think that makes knitting the body feel like it's going faster, because every time you switch, you know, which stitch has the garter stitch on it, it just makes it, it's like knitting stripes. Like it feels like you're making progress and it's nice. But yeah, this is, right now it'd be a very crop top. But it's got quite a few inches more to go. And then it does call for a little bit of ribbing at the bottom. But I think now that I figured out how to do it on my Basic Boatneck Tank, I think I'm gonna go for a folded hem on this one as well. I think it'll just look really nice and clean. But the Tonight Top by Lily Kate France is a high neck tank top, or high neck sleeveless top, with double knitting along the armholes, a ribbed like mock neck collar, and then a nice, it's supposed to have like 1 to 3 inches of positive ease, and I'm aiming more for 0 to 1 inches on mine. So, you know, not fitted, but not loose. It's definitely, you know, follows the body. I have not done any waist shaping on this, and so it will be a little bit of a boxier fit, a little bit more casual than like my Basic Boatneck, for example. And I think it's gonna look really just, I'm going for something that just looks really nice and classic and just like casually sophisticated, if that makes sense. I am knitting this with Treehouse Knits Spruce Sock base in the colorway You Belong Here. I got 2 skeins of this at Flock Fiber Fest a few weeks ago, and so I am alternating my skeins. The speckles are, you know, it's a hand-dyed yarn, so whenever you have a hand-dyed yarn, you're going to have a little bit of variability in how the dye is distributed. And so I had one ball where the end of the ball didn't have a ton of speckles, and so I'm alternating it with the other ball just so that the speckles stay evenly distributed throughout the top, and it's coming out beautifully. I think it's fantastic. I love this yarn. It's this really beautiful cream color, and then all of the speckles are in just a bunch of different colors. There's lots of browns and tans and teals and light blues and oranges, and it's so pretty. It's I honestly, I cannot get past how beautiful it is the more it works up. And I keep wanting to knit more and more and just watch the colors pop up and see which color is going to come next, and see when I'm going to get a little stripe and when I'm going to get, you know, a little pastel section, and see if we can get a close-up of the fabric. This is one that I cannot wait to see blocked and just to see how it ends up draping and coming out. I just feel like the camera is not capturing how beautiful this yarn is. It's a lot more vibrant in person. Like the little pops of color really do pop in person. And yeah, I think it's stunning. I love it so much, and I cannot wait. This yarn is a extra fine superwash merino, 90% and then 10% nylon. And it is so incredibly soft. It really is just stunning. My gauge is coming out just a little bit tight, so I'm knitting this on a US 3 needle, or you know, I think that's a 3.25 millimeter needle, which is what the pattern calls for, but my gauge is coming out a little tight. It's supposed to have a 26 stitch gauge, and I have a 28 stitch gauge, but I really liked the fabric I was getting, and I liked the feel of those needles in my hand, and I just wanted to stick with them. And so I did some math and ended up doing 1 extra increase for the armholes on both the front and the back. And then I cast on 1 extra stitch under the underarms as well. And those all together with knitting the size 3 gets me about 0 to maybe half an inch of positive ease, which is what I was going for. And so I'm hoping that works out. I'm kind of anxious to do the finishings, you know, like the collar and the double knitting on the armholes, just so I can see how the fit's really gonna be, because it's really hard to tell right now. And I think that would tell me a lot. So I'm contemplating breaking my yarn and just doing that. My issue being I really hate weaving in ends, so I don't really want to break my yarn, but I'd also like to know if there's a fit problem now before I knit the entire thing and then it just doesn't fit. So I'm a bit torn on that one. We'll see what I end up doing. But yeah, so far I've been loving it. The stockinette in the round is, you know, just nice. And like I said, I've been doing a lot of schoolwork, and so it's a great one to just have in my hands as I'm doing like reading for school or watching videos for school, anything like that. And you can just knit away on it. And then the little seaming on the sides just keeps it just a little bit interesting. This did have optional bust darts, which I was considering and I sort of meant to do, but I accidentally knit too much in the round when I was like distracted, and we were playing D&D with our friends and I was distracted knitting as we were playing, and I just way shot past the point when you needed to have started the bust darts. So I'm thinking it'll be okay. I do have, you know, a larger bust, and sometimes on my knitting it does cause some problems where the front rides up, but it's never been something that's like kept me from wearing garments or anything. It's not something that I desperately need, and so I think it's going to be okay without them. I was mostly just interested in trying out the technique and trying something new, but it should be fine either way. What will be interesting is I have never done double knitting at all before, and so this has double knitting on the, you know, like I said, the armholes, and I love the look of it and I'm really excited to learn it, but it is a completely new technique for me, so I have no idea how to do it. And the double knitting in this pattern also has short rows in it. So I do think I'm learning some fairly, you know, I'm learning double knitting in a pattern where it is already more complicated just right off the bat. So it's gonna be interesting. I'm excited to see how that turns out. I'm sure I can figure it out. I'm not too worried about it. But yeah, should be very interested. I'm really excited for that top. I'm, like I said, having a ton of fun watching it work up, and it's been a great time. The pattern, I mean, the like shaping on the pattern seems very well thought out, and I'm very excited to see the fit of this at the end, because there's short rows in the back panel to shape the shoulders, and then there's short rows when you pick up for the front panels to shape them even more and get that angle of the shoulder seam like just right. And then you pick up, you know, you cast on stitches along the front neck, knit down, increase for the armholes, all of that's pretty standard. But I've just never seen the combination of short row shaping along this shoulder area like that before. And it seems like that angle, it looks really nice and natural and just well fitted. And so I'm really excited to see it as it knits up and, you know, I get those final finishing pieces on it. So yeah, hopefully I'll keep working on that one. That one's my, like I said, whenever I need to be focusing on something else, that's the pattern that I'm picking up and knitting. And so it's getting a lot of knitting time on it just because I don't really have the attention span for some of my other knits right now sometimes. So that's been a ton of fun. I'm really excited for that pattern. But that is the Tonight Top by Lily Kate France. And then my last whip, this one's been hibernating for quite some time. So if you're new to the channel, you might not have seen this one yet. But if you've been following along for a while, you know that this one's been on the channel a lot of times. I've been talking about this one either as a plan or a whip pretty much since I started this channel. So this has been like a year-long thing that I've been talking about. But it did go into hibernation over the summer because it is a mohair project and it's a big sweater, and I already had it at sort of the big sweater stage when summer hit. And so it was just too hot. It's been too hot to have it in my lap and working on it the last few months. And so I just put it into hibernation, set it aside, and figured I wouldn't worry about it for a while. But then when I went to start my baby blanket for my niece, I needed the needles off of it. And so rather than just put it aside, I had been working on one of the sleeves, and I decided I would just finish the second sleeve on it. Instead of just taking the needles out, I would finish it, bind it off, and then, you know, have the needles that way. So this is my Wishbone Sweater. This is a pattern by Veronika Lindberg, also known as Kuda Vakika. And this is knit with one strand of Sandnes Garn Double Sunday in the color Deep Red, and one strand of knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair in the colorway Claret. And last time you guys saw it was a long time ago, but I had one sleeve, like maybe like 1.5 sleeves done. So now we have both sleeves done. So we're making progress on it. We just have the body now. But I am seriously so excited for this one. Like I said, it was on hibernation, but it didn't mean I didn't think about it all the time. So I'm feeling newly inspired to pick this up and start working on it. But I do need to finish the baby blanket first before I steal the needles from that. So we will be finishing the baby blanket, putting this one back on the needles, and then hopefully working on it again from there, because just doing that little bit of the sleeve made me remember how much I really, really like this stitch pattern. So this is an all over cabled pattern, but the cables are not overly complicated. It is also entirely, the whole sweater is in half twisted rib. And so it does take just a bit of time and care, on this one. It is not a very fast knit, but I am overall really, really happy with it. And like I said, I don't have a ton of extra to say about it, because all I did is finish a sleeve, but I did just want to let you guys know that I'm still working on it and I still love her. And, hopefully I'll have her done in a couple, next month, maybe next month I'll finish this one and finally have it off the needles. So that's it for that one. Nothing too much to add. But with that, let's get into, I just have a couple of acquisitions, nothing crazy. I had to order a new set of circular knitting needles for the citrine jumper that I'm planning to knit. It calls for US 1.5s for all of the ribbing on it, and I do not own that one, and it is not one that works with my interchangeables. So I did have to order some needles, and that is the only reason that I don't have a sample to show you guys for that sweater. So hopefully next time I will have some work on my citrine jumper. I'm going to cast it on soon. I'm really excited for it. And then, because I just was already ordering from Amazon, I also ordered a set of tiny circular needles. So these are the Addy Rockets in the US 1 in a 9-inch circular needle. And yeah, I just thought maybe the next time I tried socks, I would try this as an option, because I've heard some people like them. And I am still new to sock knitting, and I'm still trying to figure out what my favorite method is. So I have a hunch I'm going to prefer Magic Loop, because I use Magic Loop for everything else, but we'll see. I'm excited. And then since I was buying those sock needles, figured why not? And I bought The Sock Project by Summer Lee Designs. This is her, or by Summer Lee, but this is her book that she wrote, and it's just filled with these beautiful, colorful sock patterns. There's 25 patterns, and honestly what I'm most excited about is there are 5 different vanilla sock recipes in here. And like I said, as someone who's still trying to figure out her preferred socks in general, having just one place to go where I could try a lot of different options just seemed like a really, really good bet for me. And so I'm very excited with this. I'm contemplating casting on one of her DK sock patterns soon and just having a nice quick sock knit where I can, play with some of the techniques and just have it fly off the needles. So we'll see. And so yeah, those are all of my acquisitions. Okay, finally, and if you've made it this far, thank you so much for waiting, but I wanted to talk about the knit along as I promised. And so my plan, I talked about it last week, was I was thinking about doing a knit along for the Kip sweater by Rebecca Clow, or the Crayabea, which comes out on Friday the 13th, which is this Friday coming up. And I got some feedback from people, some who said they would be really, really excited for that, some who said they would look forward to it, but it, might not be in their fall plans this year because they have other things that they're working on. And, some feedback like that. It was a bit of a mixed bag. And so what I was thinking, and the idea of this knit along is I don't have prizes, I don't have, anything fancy going on for it. I really just wanted to make some knitting friends and find some people to knit along with. And so what I am thinking is, instead of it being Kip sweater specific, I want a knit along where we all knit that pattern that is, it's a new season. We're finally getting into like peak knitting time. We have these patterns we've been looking forward to, for the weather to be right to knit them. And so this is a knit along where we're all going to knit together, just some project that you have been eyeing for a while and that you're so excited about, and you cannot wait to get it on your needles. So that's the whole vibe. It's just this, that you can't stop thinking about it pattern. And for me, it is the Kip sweater. I can't stop thinking about the Kip sweater. Every single time Rebecca posts about it, I just stare at it and I'm like, oh my God, it's so good. And I've had the yarn and I'm just waiting for the pattern and I'm so excited to cast on. But that's also how I felt about my Wishbone sweater and still feel about it. It's just every now and then patterns come along that just, you need it in your life. And that is what this knit along is. And so, like I said, I don't have any prizes or anything like that, but what I do want to do is set up an Instagram chat and just have, if you want to be a part of the chat, just DM me over on Instagram and I will add you to the chat and we'll all be in the chat together, and we're just going to be knitting along with these projects that make us so excited that we, can't wait to cast it on and just don't want to put it down. And we'll just chat about it, we'll take pictures, we'll send it back and forth. And my personal endorsement is, if anyone who wants to, you should knit the Kip sweater, because I think it's gonna be great. I did have someone ask me in my last video if the Kip sweater, what sort of difficulty level it would be appropriate for, and if it would be good for like an adventurous beginner. And that is hard for me to answer because the pattern isn't released yet, and so I don't know the specific techniques that are used in it. But I do know that the row gauge is quite dense, and so it is going to take a patient knitter, because it is going to take a lot of rows to get any length on it, and it's going to take a long time to knit. But I also know that the texture, that like herringbone stitch texture that the sweater has, is done entirely with knits and slip stitches. So the actual texture itself should be very, very doable and absolutely attainable for a beginner knitter. The construction is a, sort of drop shoulder construction. I know there's some short rows in the sleeves to make the sleeve cap fit, because, Rebecca's talked about it before. So, there are some techniques in there that might be new to you. There are some, various sweater techniques. I don't know specifically which ones, but I do know I've heard a lot of really great things about Rebecca Clo's pattern writing, that it's very clear and very easy to follow. And I don't think the texture itself should scare you. And if you're an adventurous beginner, I think you can handle those short rows no problem. So I think that's my take on it. Like I said, I can't give any more guidance than that, but that is what I will be knitting for this KAL. I will be calling this the Fall Obsessions KAL because, as you know, I am a knitter obsessed, and so it felt very on brand for me. And I'm thinking, if this works, maybe we can have, because it's not a official prize winning type of thing, it's just a hang. Maybe this is something I'll do more regularly. Like maybe we'll have a Fall Obsessions KAL, and then we'll have a, winter obsession, like I don't know. It's something I'm playing with. I'm gonna, play around with it. It might not be something I do regularly, but for now, I'm leaving it open and giving myself the option. But this one will be called the Fall Obsessions KAL. Like I said, I will be hosting it over on Instagram, and if you want to be a part of the chat, just let me know, and I will get you added, and I will get it all set up to start on this Friday. And, if you want to knit along with us but you don't want to be a part of the group chat, just go ahead and use the hashtag and tag me in it so I can see your posts, and we'll all be knitting together. And I'm so excited, and I'm really just looking forward to making some new knitting friends and building a little community so we can all do this together, because that's the best part of any hobby is the people and the social part of it, and it's going to be so much fun. So I am Bonnie Coit over on Instagram. And so I will have that down in the description below so you can see the spelling. I am planning to change my Instagram to be a knitter obsessed soon, but I haven't gotten around to it yet as of this video. So if you go to check the video and in the description it says that my Instagram is a knitter obsessed, that means I went back and, you know, edited my Instagram and the description, all that. So whatever it says in the description from Instagram, whenever you're watching this video, that will be the correct Instagram to come and find me. But as of the time of this video being released, it is Bonnie Coit. So go and follow me over there. Let me know if you want to be a part of the group chat, and I will get you added and we will be knitting together. And I am seriously so excited, and I hope that some of you will be, you know, joining me over there soon. So with that, that is all I have for you. I say all I have for you, there's a lot of knitting to talk about. But I'm gonna leave it there and get this video edited and get it up to you guys. So I hope you are having a great day. I hope you're getting some knitting in, and I will see you next time. Bye.